G'day, Steve Morgan here, Australian Bass Tournaments. I'm sitting here with the man the Rapala picked up after they got rid of Brandon Palany. Mick Johnson, you've won your first ABT qualifier. You sort of did it in the wrong order. You won the Open last year, and now you've won your first ABT event, and it's at the furthest place away from your home down at Blue Rock in Victoria.
Yeah, it's we had a bit of a bad start, I suppose, for the first day, but the second day we couldn't do anything wrong. So, yeah, it worked out well, and yeah.
You had a 10 fish bag for a bit over 7 kilos, but day one you only got just under 2 kilos and then brought it home with a high 5 kilos bag on day two. An event of two halves. Take us through your strategies.
Yeah, so on pre-fish, I had a bit of a game plan, I suppose, of doing fishing edges, surface and subsurface. Then went out grubbing trees, sort of in that 70 to 80 foot, I suppose, was where I mainly found them. Had to be about 50-foot trees with, that 20 to 30 foot above the trees. On the first day I sort of stumbled a little bit. I didn't stick to my plan. I just got my 5 fish from the edge, and went and did a few other things to try and upgrade them fish. I should have went and grubbed them trees, but anyway, had that 2 kilo bag, or just under 2 kilo bag for the first day. The second day, I just stuck to my guns. I got me 5 first up, straight off the edge. Surface, bit of subsurface, bigger fish were coming on surface. You'll see on the highlight reels, I suppose, I got some better fish off surface, got stitched up a few times, then went out to them deeper trees and grubbed them trees and upgraded every one of them small ones.
And your bag were fish between sort of 38 and 40 centimetres, so there was only about a 2 centimetre spread between your biggest and smallest. And when you're catching that many big fish, you're going to go jumping up. Did you think you had enough to take the lead?
I didn't really think about it probably till about the third or fourth fish, I suppose, and just thought, well, if I can get another 1 or 2 of these, and I suppose it was just all up to the guys who were in the lead. Mitch Conan and Steve Muldoon, that were sitting first and second, had a pretty good lead, so I knew it was going to take a good bag and for them guys to stumble, and it just so happened that, unfortunately for them, that they did, and fortunate enough for me, I got it done.
Take us through what it is involved in grubbing the trees. We say it, and it's something you guys all do and talk about, but explain to the people watching at home exactly what the technique involves. Like, you're finding a tree which is basically invisible at the water surface. Take me through how you find it and how you fish it.
Yep, so Garmin LiveScope, the greatness of them, I suppose you'd say, has made it pretty easy to grub trees nowadays. It's simply, well, what I was finding anyway was fishing an edge, and you could pan out with a live scope, and you could see trees that were sitting out wider, and you can actually see the fish if they've got trees, fish sitting in the trees or not. So it makes it pretty easy. Scoot out to them and see if the fish are even interested. And most of the time, it's just a small jig head with a grub, with a cut down curltail grub usually, and a small light jig head. I was using like a 1/8, I think, small jig head, and it's just simply dropping it down. Sinks really slow, and you wind it back up slow, but you watch them fish. As soon as they usually start following it down, so you're sitting on top of them fish. You open the bail arm and you're letting it sink down past them.
As soon as they go like this?
If they're tipping their heads and they're starting to look at it, you know that they're a little bit interested in it. Yep. And like I said there earlier today, once you come up the top of them trees, so the tree finishes 20 foot underneath the surface. So once that lure's getting past that, it's sort of like the fish is coming up and he's like, well, I've either got to eat this or I've got to go back down to this tree. And a bit of a security thing for them, I suppose, but that's what I found with it anyway. It was coming right to the top of it, and it was only probably 5 foot of the top of the tree. They'd either grab it or they'd go back down and leave it alone, and you could drop it back down and just annoy them. Most of the times they'd grab it.
And it's a slow retrieve, isn't it? You're not ripping that lure up out of the tree. It's a real slow roll.
Very slow, yeah. Yep. So being an 1/8 or a 16th, whatever you're going to use, obviously that's sinking really slow. I think one of the fish grabbed it on the way down, so it's obviously sinking really slow, and your retrieve is just as quick. So,
take us through some of the gear you're using to throw it. You're on board with Rapala this year. That's the sponsor. Karma has kicked in immediately because they're obviously through 13Fishing, the naming sponsor of this whole tour. Take us through the gear you're using.
Yeah, so it's just a little Rapala, little Maxwell. It's a 1 to 3 kilo. a little 7-foot rod, just nice soft little rod, good for grubbing. We got 4-pound Suffolk's 131, and I think that's 6-pound Suffolk's leader, just with a little. Well, that one's got a 1/4 ounce, but I was using, I think it was an 1/8 ounce little jig head on it. Yeah, just with a little curl tail.
You would be set up to be a gun brim fisherman with that outfit. You might want to try some on the way home in the saltwater, mate.
Yeah, you've said this a few times now, but no.
You got the gear for it.
No.
The grubbing technique is something that's dominated down here. Matt Langford won an event here last year doing it. Coney won on Glen Maggie doing it. You've won it doing it this year here. Is that something that works the further north you go in the tour? So say we go to Boondooma on our next road trip. Is grubbing going to work there?
It does from time to time, but I think it's a specialised thing for the south. I think, guys probably do get them. We've had tournaments, or so we shouldn't say even tournaments, like fishing weekends or whatever when we go out, and they will eat grubs. But I think it's just these southern fish that are eating gudgeon and small smelt and stuff like that it relates to them a lot more than what it does.
You came a long way to fish Blue Rock. You've taken home the chocolates. How pretty a lake is Blue Rock? It's a pretty cool place, and it's a diverse lake with lots of different sorts of fishing in it.
It is, yeah. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful drive all the way down here. We were really impressed with the drive the route that we took this time round. It's a great place, and the fishing down here, I suppose, Blue Rock. I think everyone sort of, you catch a lot of them little fish off the edge. A lot of people do, but there's a lot of good fish in there that people don't realise.
That's it. And they can be difficult to catch. Mick Johnson, congratulations. Your first ABT qualifier win. You're already in the grand final for this year, and that's on one of your favourite lakes. We know this because we interviewed you on ABT Live, Lake Boondooma. You've punched your ticket. You're going.
Yep, can't wait.
That's it. Watch out for Mick Johnson when it comes to the series-ending event.